You know, Bomb, I gotta say, you've been showing a lot of restraint lately. I can't even remember the last time you mentioned Metro. Oh! Oh! Oid! Say it! Oid! Metroid! And so Yoshio Sakamoto speaketh on the 19th day of the 3rd month of 1994. Blessings shall rain down upon thine Super Nintendo, and sweepeth thou off thine feet into blissful— Okay, we get it! I'll review Super Metroid. Yeah! I cannot possibly overstate the tremendous improvement over the previous games made in Super Metroid. With a much needed upgrade in diagonal aiming and crouching, amazing new power-ups for overworld traversal and combat, alongside an enormously large, intertwined, colorful map, and a bunch of amazing, new, memorable, colorful boss fights. Whoa, slow down. Now, I agree that the first 2 Metroid games had a lot of room for improvement, but let's not jump to conclusions with this one either. I will proudly stand by saying that this game is the definitive 2D Metroid experience. I know I'm clearly biased by this franchise, but you're the critical gamer. I dare you to find some problems with this game. You're on. First, you praise the controls, but honestly, I found them a little wonky. What with the intermittent wall jumping and cycling weapon select system. To be fair, this controller itself is pretty darn wonky by today's standards. So if anything, you should be praising its inventiveness for making it all work without forcing you to keep pausing to switch weapons like in most games. And oh, I'm so sorry for leaving out that this game also added the wall kick among several other unique mechanics like the Shine Spark and Crystal Flash for crafty players to discover. Well, what about the map? I mean, it's easy to get lost in the various winding, interconnected passageways and traps. Meridia is particularly confusing. Might I remind you that you actually have a map this time? Also, each new environment is visually unique and sized just right to help you remember where you are. This even allowed them to add things like tricks, traps, and other secret passageways in the various locales. But if you honestly get lost, even with the new map, it's your own fault. There are even map stations hidden across the game helping you complete your map as you go. Well, the combat could definitely be improved with a remake like Samus Returns, yes, but that's not fair to throw the SNES under the bus of modern hardware and control schemes. But the bosses are outstanding. Each one is so unique and creative, forcing the player to learn their moves and weaknesses to survive. And it's not all the simple shoot it till it dies trope either. Crocomire must be pushed back into the lava before he crushes you against the spikes behind you. Dragon can be killed by craftily using your grapple beam to send an electric charge through your own body to fry the big guy. But backtracking and finding all those pickups has never been easier. What with the new amazing X-ray scope allowing you to see through secrets hidden in the terrain, the map itself showing you icons of pickups with its own fair share of hidden rooms, making the joy of exploration and accumulating power better than ever. And the difficulty feels perfect now, with fair respawning HP amounts as well as frequent save and heal stations hidden throughout the map, with several generously placed right before bosses and tough challenges. Don't ever say perfect! There's gotta be something wrong with this game! Admit it, there's gotta be something wrong with you! This game looks gorgeous, with fluid sprite animations, vibrant environments, and creature design matching the dark alien horror aesthetic. I will say that if the Super Nintendo could have done Metroid any better, I don't really see how. The cutscenes and interwoven cinematics are absolutely stunning. I particularly love the way these moments are woven into the organic horror narrative, where even scripted sequences like when you're attacked by the giant Metroid feel real and terrifying. I really appreciate how the map design references the original Zebes from Metroid 1 just enough for the nostalgia to kick in, but changes it all up just enough to keep the gameplay fresh. The cover and promotional art is also pretty darn great. Wait, hold on. You remember this is the part where you're supposed to be complaining about something insignificant, right? You really are killing me today. Speaking of dying, when Samus dies, her suit breaks apart like usual, but now you can actually see her get exposed to the dangerous environment, unprotected, and die screaming. Yikes. Though it's skimpy, at least she's wearing something underneath her suit. In the Japanese version, they actually considered making her completely nude instead. Oh, Japan. I really don't like how this monumental female gaming icon gets criminally sexualized, kinda ruining everything she stood for to begin with. It would be cool though if they used the suit-shattering animation to reveal which ending path you're currently headed toward by showing which outfit Samus is wearing during this short death scene. You would know based on death whether you're taking too long to beat the game or not. Good thing she's at least wearing something, I guess. I can't believe Japan wanted to compromise this character's integrity just for some 18-bit boobies. My favorite movie is Alien, from which Metroid is not so subtly inspired. It's an atmospheric, dark sci-fi horror that does a great job at building suspense, isolation, and dread, perfectly fitting the Metroid atmospheric, subtle storytelling. It's a bleak, dark, and very alien experience to play, and the storytelling itself is organic enough to help fully immerse you into the game. Though Metroid is mostly about how it's told and not so much what happens, so we don't really. So after Metroid 2, of course we're doing this, Samus returns the last living Metroid to the Galactic Federation, who aims to study the life-sucking parasite for the good of the galaxy. But soon after her departure, the station is attacked by Ridley, who slaughters the researchers and takes the Metroid back to the space pirate homeworld planet Zebes from Metroid 1. The game's prologue is creepy and foreboding, with implied storytelling as you enter the destroyed station after the attack, complete with a boss encounter with Ridley before he ultimately escapes. So Samus chases Ridley to Zebes and descends back into the destroyed space pirate facilities from her battles in the first game, and through various biomes and treacherous, winding, interconnected tunnels aiming to reclaim the infant Metroid from Ridley. The mysterious world and lore of the game only gets amplified when you pay attention to the decrepit environments and crumbling Chozo ruins. Really take your time experiencing the world, because most of the story is what you discover on your solitary journey. So after several deadly boss encounters dealing with the ferocious wildlife, Samus finds remnants of surviving space pirates, their own knockoff Mach-Troid bioweapons, and traces of the last infant Metroid, consuming and growing at an unprecedented rate, possibly due to it originating from SR-388 and not Zebes. You reach a desolate room, completely sucked dry of all life before getting ambushed by the now enormous last Metroid as it latches on your head and sucks away your energy. There is absolutely nothing you can do to save yourself as you helplessly struggle, but before killing her completely, it seems to recognize Samus as its mother, and feeling ashamed, it zooms away after leaving you on your last leg, but still alive. This silent, unprovoked, and terrifying moment is a perfect example of how this game tells its narrative. So Samus hunts down and kills Ridley, for good this time, and discovers a hidden slew of real Metroids, all protecting the resurrected Mother Brain, for an absolutely insane final boss, which is probably the coolest video game boss fight in history. So this game totally fakes you out with a traditional Mother Brain boss fight before she collapses through the floor and transforms into a grotesque monstrosity. Now the real battle begins. Mother Brain is impossible to kill on your own, so instead you need to get her desperate enough to resort to using her Hyper Beam, which nearly obliterates you. If you survive the tragically one-sided onslaught long enough, you're saved by the sudden appearance of the baby Metroid, which violently attacks Mother Brain. It sucks away its power and tries to transfer it all to the dying Samus in a rare moment of alien symbiotic remorse. As this is happening, you see the dried out shell of Mother Brain recovering slowly and begin to attack the baby. It's absolutely terrifying, and you're completely helpless to stop it as you're being saved by the baby Metroid, risking its life to save you. Mother Brain soon recovers and completely obliterates the last Metroid over Samus's head, but not before it transferred the devastating Hyper Beam to Samus, which she promptly uses to lay waste to the giant resurrected cybernetic brain and destroy the entire facility in a traditional escape rush sequence to flee the planet before the entire thing detonates. Though, sadly, the last Metroid was killed in the process, Samus's mission was technically a success. What makes this story so amazing is that it's practically wordless. Samus's journey and struggles were all your own, as things weren't told to you, but actually happened to you. Oh yeah, and if you didn't save the Dakora and Edakuns before the planet explodes, you're a heartless monster. You make me sick. Once again, the soundtrack diverts from the norm and attempts to create tracks of alien atmospheric sounds to help fit the world and tone. I mean, think about it. How is this game supposed to make you feel immersed, alone, and afraid if it's playing catchy 16-bit tunes? But some tracks are still pretty jammin'. You know, I always liked how the sound effects all sounded kind of muffled, like it was an atmospheric space effect. Or the Super Nintendo coughing and wheezing. Oh, shut up. The Super Nintendo sounds great. There's even a vocal track in the introduction that sounds surprisingly clear for its time.
The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
This solitary game is the king of all Metroidvanias. Play it. This is one of those rare historic video games that actually holds up to modern criticisms. And believe me, I tried. This is easily one of the best games on the Super Nintendo. In this day and age, getting a chance to try it out on modern consoles has made it easier than ever to pick up and play. It's beautiful! The positive gamer in me, now brace yourself now, adores Super Metroid to no end, awarding it with a glorious 10 out of 10. The atmosphere, the stunning visuals, the creature designs, the mastercrafted storytelling, it's all outstanding and undoubtedly deserving of all the praise and notoriety it has accumulated even after all this time in what may be the definitive 2D Metroid game. The critical gamer in me tried so hard to disagree, to find something, anything wrong with Super Metroid, but in the end recognized the outstanding achievements in Super Metroid, awarding it with the coveted second 10 out of 10. This was a hard decision to make without sounding biased, but after coming to this conclusion that this is without a doubt one of the greatest games ever made, ranking it any lower would be falsely diminishing this otherwise faultless title. I knew you'd come around, you old stick in the mud. I guess if you don't think that this historic work of art is worth its overwhelming praise, then you're just playing with yourself. Now this was my childhood. I probably spent more time in this one game than all others combined at the time. I loved it. And since I never really owned an N64, I could only watch in awe as my friends or relatives all got to play the unbelievable crossover game that I couldn't join them with. But after a lot of convincing, my family got a Nintendo GameCube, which was their next console afterward, and I had just been dreaming of playing a Smash Brothers of my own. And then, in 2001, as if it was just made just for me, Super Smash Bros. Melee hit the scene. Hold it right there, Bomb. This is a review, it's not story time about your pitiful childhood. The people want to know what makes Melee such a critical success even 20 years later. But a big part of that is understanding the magic of what Melee captured at the time. The internet was young and wasn't even close to having the dominating impact that it has now. It was a different time, alright. Not only was it next to impossible to find guides or info on games, but even hearing about new releases was primarily through TV commercials or by visiting a game store in person. Just imagine playing this game at a time like that and suddenly a new character appears. It was all the excitement of the modern reveals, but BAM! You were already fighting them while getting over the fact that Mewtwo or the Game & Watch guy is in Smash! So what you're saying is people's love of Melee is tied to this land before time, where spoilers were pretty much non-existent and games could genuinely surprise us? I can see that, but there is so much more to it! Oh, I don't doubt it. The competitive scene is alive and well, even after all this time. But for me, nothing will ever replace Melee's ability to shock, surprise, and delight Nintendo fans for decades. Hold on, we're getting ahead of ourselves. First impressions. So I guess as I was saying, this game honestly felt like my wish for a bigger and better Smash Brothers I'd seen back on the N64 came true, and kept getting better the more I played it. It was the last of a dying breed of unspoiled games, I guess. I can't even imagine Smash pulling this off today, what with all the leakers and hackers cracking and uploading it all on day one. I remember the same feeling, wishing for a cool new Mario Kart like they all got to play on the N64, but for all I had at the time, which was the Game Boy Advance. And BAM! There was Mario Kart Super Circuit! Or a game starring Yoshi, my favorite Mario character, and BAM! Yoshi's Island was there! It really felt like there was a certain magic to wishing for games back then. You should have wished for better friends, a fair chance at a career you loved, and a family that cared enough to support and care for their autistic son instead of berating, insulting, and abusing him for not being like everybody else! I call Bowser Ice Climbers all the way! The first thing you'll notice about Melee is that it's fast. Characters can run, attack, and fall at breakneck speeds compared to the N64 game, making for some frantic fast-paced action. But with all that speed came several exploitable fast-paced techniques for the competitive scene's delight. Not to mention all the other stuff for the casual player, like directional mid-air dodging. One massive addition I cannot overstate is the introduction of the Side Special. This gave every single character an extra unique ability, increasing combat potential, as well as some extra unique individual flair. Classic mode is back, but with some nice updates, like new thematically randomized opponents so each round isn't identical or yielding mirror matches, a trophy snagging minigame instead of that bland board the platforms thing, and the bonus final boss of Crazy Hand appearing if hidden time and difficulty requirements are met. But forget classic mode when you've got the new adventure mode. It's an amazing ride, battling and platforming through various Nintendo worlds, complete with short intro cutscenes tying it all together. Like classic, it's a short single-player campaign where your final boss can change based on difficulty and time. In classic mode, the left Crazy Hand appears and helps out Master Hand, but in adventure mode, you'll face off against the devastating Giga Bowser. But in the rest of the stages, you'll be stomping Goombas and Koopas in the Mushroom Kingdom, searching a randomized cave for the Triforce, and escaping the exploding Zebus before time expires. It's a barrage of awesome Nintendo levels and battles, and I love it. There's also All-Star mode, Home Run Contest, Multi-Man Melee, among various other additions, like the crazy event matches where you need to clear battles with various Nintendo-themed stipulations. We haven't even talked about another huge implementation that kept players like me hooked for hundreds of hours, and that is trophies. With 290 to collect with unique unlock requirements and well-modeled 3D replicas of various artifacts and characters from throughout Nintendo's history, all complete with detailed descriptions of each one. Completionists will be beating Classic, Adventure, and All-Star mode as every single character, and then spending their battle-earned coins on random trophy drops to fill out their collection before finding out that there are a few locked behind inaccessible, defunct, or region-exclusive events. Oh, boo-hoo, so you can't get 3. You'll be way too distracted with clearing everything else the game offers, like unlocking the secret Event 51, where you'll face off against Mewtwo, Ganondorf, and freaking Giga Bowser, all with 3 lives, set to the highest difficulty, and on Final Destination. Yikes! Talk about a devastating final battle. As far as intense Smash challenges are concerned, at least I was able to beat this one, with several characters too. I mean, it's a ludicrous final battle, so of course I'm gonna keep slamming my head against a wall until I beat it. The Ice Climbers don't mess around. Neither does Bowser, Fox, Samus, Roy, Peach, Jigglypuff. Okay, we get it! This game is absolutely gorgeous. It's definitely one of the best looking GameCube games ever made. Yeah, the models, textures, animations, UI, and overall presentation all look stunning at 60 frames per second. Comparing it to the N64 game is like comparing a mountaintop sunrise to used toilet paper. What? Anyway, how about all those newcomers they added to the roster? Here's how I feel about all of them. The first clone who felt entirely pointless. If we were getting another Mario, it should have been Paper Mario, but obviously that's not a feasible cloning option. He's still pretty lame. Dude, yes! Fighting as villains is fun enough, but getting to mix it up in Smash makes playing as Nintendo's biggest bad all the more incredible. Create some hilarious matchups where the famously helpless princess gets to lay down some famous Mushroom Kingdom beatdowns. And upskirts. Don't forget the upskirts. I remember unlocking him and screaming at the TV, how is anybody supposed to straight up defeat Ganondorf? Probably the best clone considering he's such a creative redesign of the original Captain Falcon moveset on top of being an amazing popular character choice. Pretty darn random. But so was Fox, I guess. The cover of the game had me confused as to why I could play as the flowers from Yoshi's Island. Then I soon fell in love with the forgotten NES nobodies. Peach can't fight without Zelda creatively utilizing the magic she teaches Link in Ocarina, plus transforming into Sheik as a down special. Run faster, jump higher, shooting arrows covered in fire. Another great idea for a clone, plus my preferred Link to fight with. Literally hurts himself with his own electricity. Personally, would have preferred Raichu, but Johto was new at the time, so I give it a pass. Holy crap, are you joking? Is this real life? How does anybody stand a chance battling it out with Mewtwo? No character surprise shocked me more than Mewtwo did. I was literally screaming in a room by myself. This hilarious yet undeniably relevant iconic gaming series was somehow the most unexpected addition to Melee, cranking up the absurdity to a whole new level by being completely two-dimensional. Fire Emblem wasn't even a thing in the West, so this was a big literally who character, but he had a sword, so that's pretty cool, I guess. Forget Marth, Roy's game wasn't even released in Japan at the time of his inclusion. Literally who to the 10th power, but his sword is on fire, so he's cooler than Marth, I guess. And that's with everyone from the original N64 game returning as well. Obviously with Ultimate's tagline, everyone is here, this is super important. Kinda sucks that so many characters were basically clones of existing characters, but it's important to note that the based character select screen only shows 5 question mark tiles. So the clones ended up shocking us even more as they didn't even take up these 5 remaining spaces. But they had to go and taunt me with Ridley in the intro cinematic. Hey, at least it got him enough demand to finally get him in the roster in Ultimate. That intro video is one of the most epic opening cinematics in any video game I've ever seen. It's so powerful, well choreographed, and animated with so much of Nintendo's history, you really feel like you're playing something truly monumental. Without Ridley. Oh, shut up! Okay, so in Adventure mode is not a story mode. Even still, it's worth noting, even though it basically is just a flyby of a bunch of Nintendo worlds and stages. Still not a story. Kind of a story. If anything, this game adds the peculiar lore of all these characters being trophies, given life so they can do battle with each other. It's a unique way to explain all the crossover chaos. But how is that a story? Your face is a story. But we have this— God, stop looking at me, you deformed mule. Fully orchestrated Nintendo music, spanning their entire history, all remixed or remastered. The nostalgia is strong with this one. Star Wars? Shouldn't you have gone for a Nintendo reference instead? It's dangerous to go alone. Listen to this? Gotta play 'em all? I'm sorry, Bomb, but your joke is in another castle. Oh, go do a barrel roll! Yeah, so it's mostly obsolete anymore, on top of the initial magic being lost to time. But Smash Melee basically made the series what it is today. This game is the reason players insist on playing modern games with a GameCube controller. If that means anything to you. If you love competitive fighting games, then you can't get much bigger than this one considering its incredible legacy. It's easy to learn, but can take ages to master. Hold on, we're trying to sell this thing, but how much does it even go for? And holy crap! The positive gamer in me had a blast with Super Smash Bros. Melee, giving it a tremendous 9 out of 10. It's an absolutely outrageous time and is still adored to this day with an active competitive community. But personally, I find it a little too outdated to pick up anymore as a casual player. But that's purely due to how outstanding future entries will become, arguably making Melee obsolete and retired to history. The critical gamer in me has nothing but praise for Super Smash Bros. Melee, awarding it with a coveted 10 out of 10. This game is a technical marvel with outstanding combat, beautiful visuals, a magnificent soundtrack, and endless hours of enjoyment to be had. If this beloved 20-year-old classic isn't worth memorializing with a perfect score, then I don't know what is. Wait, really? I mean, though I think it's great, I'm still probably never going to pick it up again. Though I have nothing but praise for the game, that still negatively affects my personal score. Obviously, I have different analytical standards for reviews, if that wasn't already abundantly clear. Do you think that was, I don't know, the entire point of the series? You can share your positive and critical scores of Super Smash Bros. Melee in the comments below. But if you think modern Smash would be the same without Melee's colossal impact, then you're just playing with yourself. What the? God, I forgot the stealth setting again. Dang it. Okay, Hamster, this is like the 8th time we've had to do this. I have to keep resetting your memory every time I screw up, so let's just see how this goes. Excuse me? Speedrun. You're asleep, this is a simulation, and I'm on the outside trying to emulate alterations in your memories to fulfill your dying wish. Wait, what? I'm dying? So far. I mean, you see, I'm not so great at this job. Wait, so, hold on. In my dreams, I just keep playing unending video games? Over and over again, yes. Unable to ever reach the end credits. It's kind of sad, really. Even if I reached the end, what kind of ending could I possibly get in a simulated dream? A never-ending Bayonetta-like epilogue upon epilogue, fake-out ending. It's not worth it. We've gone over this. You've got to fix this! What if I could? Last time I accidentally gave you pineapple hands and a sexual attraction to flamingos. What? But let me try this button. Whoa! Finally! Okay, much better. Wait, but I'm still playing video games. But see, I changed the game you're playing. And changed my feet into tilapia? Oh, come on now, I fixed the game problem. Now, honestly now, which do you find more troubling? Nightmarishly never-ending video games or fish feet? I'm not sure. So what is this? It says To the Moon. I can read. Good, because you're gonna be doing a lot of it. This is a short story-based indie game. Wait, I don't get it. This is what I wished for? Well, I guess sometimes you don't realize how much you needed something until you have it. All right then, I guess we're going to the moon. You sure you can't fix my feet though? Nope. And let's keep those off screen. They look really hard to edit. There really isn't much here in terms of actual gameplay. You basically just walk around and interact with people and objects to advance the plot. But what about those little tile flip puzzles you do before diving into new mementos? They are bare bones puzzles at best. The game might honestly be better off without them. Even still, it's an investigative game, and the interactive menus help catalog all the clues and information for the player to piece together at their own pace. That's your idea of gameplay? It's a story game, I'm reaching here! Looks like we're going for a good old 16-bit art style. I do love me some sprite art. For sprites, these characters are surprisingly expressive and fluidly animated. I think it looks really nice. I don't want to pick on it, but a couple important moments have art that's just okay. It's not bad or anything, it's just— Come on now, just because you have an MFA doesn't mean you have a pass to pick on other people's artwork. Yes, it does! You play as Dr. Eva Rosalind and Dr. Neil Watts, who are tasked with utilizing advanced memory-altering technology in order to give their patients false memories before they die so they can have their dying wishes fulfilled. Their patient is Johnny, an unresponsive elderly man on his deathbed, who dearly wished to go to the moon, but to the doctor's dismay, didn't remember why, making your job of getting him there a journey through his entire life to find out why and how to fulfill his last wish before it's too late. You dive into Johnny's memories, traveling backwards in time, farther and farther all the way back to his early childhood, learning the story of his life in reverse, and from the perspective of the disenfranchised doctors, as they try to solve the mysteries of his life alongside the player. But before we spoil this like milk in the attic, we highly encourage you to experience this story for yourself firsthand. It's funny, it's sad, it's mysterious, it's sweet, and it's short. Seriously, I'm not saying it again. Play it yourself, don't ruin this masterpiece. Or you can just watch my live stream, shameless plug. So as you travel backward through Johnny's memories, we're introduced to River, his recently deceased wife. It's due to River's ongoing medical and psychological issues that drive the story between her and Johnny, as we watch Johnny do absolutely everything he can to keep River happy throughout her life, though something always seems amiss. River's condition remains a mystery for a large chunk of the game, instead focusing on Johnny's dedication to her. He indulges her odd dream of buying a lighthouse, takes her out to see friends, bookstores, and even horseback riding. As her condition worsens, River begins making dozens of origami rabbits scattered around their home, and against Johnny's wishes, denies her expensive treatment so that the two can complete their dream home by the lighthouse. Johnny and the player assumed the poor woman slowly lost her mind as she aged. The real tragedy only reveals itself deep in Johnny's memories. River is diagnosed with autism as a young adult, and with Johnny's help, she's finally able to start understanding this disorder that's been with her throughout her entire life. It's not long afterward that the couple get married, further proving Johnny won't abandon River. Might I remind you that you're actually playing as the doctors? It's through their eyes that we see this story unfold, and due to their becoming so desensitized to this peculiar job, add the outside perspectives and comedy with drama-shattering exposition that really helps break up the story so it can feel more human and emotional when segments like those arise. Traveling further back, they see Johnny and River first meeting in school and going on awkward dates. We can now recognize River's autism from her personality, but still find no source for Johnny's wish. The doctors start getting desperate and futilely try implanting the idea themselves, but to no avail, until they discover Johnny's deeper, repressed childhood memories. As a young boy, Johnny witnesses the traumatic death of his older brother Joey, and gets beta blockers to help him forget about the painful experience. But this also adversely caused him to forget about a fateful night Johnny spent with his family at the carnival. There, Johnny sneaks away to a secluded, starry scene where he meets the young River before what we thought was their first meeting. The two kids share a cute moment together away from the carnival that Johnny will ultimately forget, but River will remember for the rest of her life. River imagines all the stars being lighthouses and dreams of taking care of one someday. While stargazing, they search for the shape of a rabbit, which River finds by using the moon to make the body. They then promise that if they ever get separated, they'll meet back up again, together on the moon. Well, that explains Johnny's wish. So now we just need to get Johnny and River. Not so fast. We're only contracted to get Johnny to the moon, and it's River who keeps him from getting there. Messing with his memory more than requested isn't ethical. But he only wants to go to the moon to be reunited with River. The doctors argue as Johnny's time is running out, settling on moving River instead of deleting her to achieve their goal, so that she and Johnny can go to an imaginary version of NASA and finally rocket away to the moon together. Watching Johnny's new memories unfold, we realize that River was actually spending her entire life desperately trying to get Johnny to remember their real first meeting, as it meant so much to her. She hung onto a plush platypus Johnny gave her that night for her whole life, and the constant lighthouse and rabbit references suddenly seem a lot less crazy and a lot more sad, as we know River inevitably dies without her husband ever remembering this special moment and promise that they made to each other as children. But with the doctor's help, Johnny remembers his wish and takes off in a rocket with River to the moon, with all his family and friends watching their liftoff, including his forgotten brother Joey. But time is short, and Johnny momentarily realizes the beeping of the spacecraft is actually his fading heart monitor. Calming his nerves, River takes Johnny's hand as he passes away. Wow. Just wow. And I feel like we're grossly underselling this incredible journey. But still, this story is really sold through all the little interactions, artifacts of significance, and wonderful sprite artwork. The story is masterfully crafted and woven through humor and emotion in such a way that the whole story comes to light the farther back in time you go through Johnny's memories, making sense of the events to come. It is possible I'm biased by this story because I relate so much to River, as I was also diagnosed with autism as an adult earlier this year. The same day I unknowingly streamed the game, by the way. So I understand her worries and struggles on a personal level, and it helps me better appreciate all the subtleties in the story meant for people like me overcoming a life-changing diagnosis. I agree, I'm finding it quite difficult to remove myself from this story for a fair review. I just want to see it for what it really is. And what it is beautiful. Yeah. Probably the biggest thing that lifts this story from great to utterly captivating is the music. The beautiful piano melodies are absolutely perfect for setting the various scenes. The vocal track Everything's Alright is especially powerful when it plays at the end. Though observant players will notice Johnny be given a music box playing this melody in the beginning. There's actually quite a lot of Easter eggs for players to recognize on repeat playthroughs. I absolutely adore how the track for River that Johnny plays for his wife is actually made for someone with autism in mind. The melodies repeat in patterns just enough before chaotically spiraling into new melodies. For somebody like me, it keeps the song special no matter how many times I hear it. Now that is some attention to detail. If they even intended on viewers picking up on that, shut up, it's beautiful! This game will probably make you cry, yes. But it'll also make you laugh, make you go, huh? Make you go, whoa, make you go, aww, and so on. It's a narratively complete package. I know the odds of anybody sharing my unique experience with this game is mathematically inconceivable. But for me, playing this game blind on the same day I was diagnosed with autism as an adult was such a powerful experience that helped me in ways I can't even explain, where a video game was there for me on a day no other actual person could be. Maybe this was the game you wished for and didn't know you needed. I guess. Now I'm only marginally upset I have fish for feet. The positive gamer in me feels no shame in rocketing to the moon up to a 10 out of 10. I went into this game with high hopes and with a friend's overwhelming recommendation. Though normally this sets the bar too high with expectation, I was somehow still left completely speechless with the tremendously impactful narrative that I will cherish forever. The critical gamer in me struggles to get past the outstanding story and music of To the Moon to fairly judge the rest of the game, rewriting it as a strong 7 out of 10. It's still an undeniably amazing experience, but as a game I feel inclined to ask for a bit more in terms of gameplay and interaction. But this is hardly enough to keep me from giving this game its well-deserved glowing recommendations. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate To the Moon in the comments below. But if you don't think emotional story-based indie games are worth your time, then you're just playing with yourself. Hey, look, Hamster, this Friday is Christmas! It is Friday. What? That means it is Christmas! And proof I will literally never get a day off. We've got to make the most holly jolly festive Christmas special ever! And I know just the game to play. Oh, I bet it's a real stocking stuffer. Oh, you bet your milk and cookies this game will roast your chestnuts till they're crushed gingerbread. What? Kiss your chances of landing the nice list this year goodbye under the mistletoe as we're going straight to hell with a one-way ticket to Blasphemous. Oh my god, this game is brutal! Santa definitely wouldn't approve. But what about all his little helpers who labored over it all year at Team 17 in the game kitchen? Maybe this was a Christmas miracle all along. But aside from it being such a violent, gory extravaganza, it's also incredibly sacrilegious. It's heavily inspired from a twisted Spanish Inquisition era of violently oppressive religious anguish. The very same religion from which your precious Saint Nicholas originates, I might add. VeggieTales taught me better than this! Prepare to get your jingle bells smashed into a bloody pulp because this game does not mess around. It's a brutal Metroidvania that plays like a 2D Dark Souls. You wander aimlessly through various deadly biomes, all with their own slew of unique, challenging enemies and vicious bosses. And these aren't all simple palette-swapped enemies. They're all different with their own unique designs and movesets, requiring you to constantly stay on your toes wherever you venture in Custodia. The bosses in particular demand that you memorize their attack patterns for you to have literally any hope of survival. They'll have you cursing over busted wide-range attacks and limited vulnerability windows and parry opportunities. Calm down, it's not all blood and broken bones. There are dozens of save and heal stations throughout the map, as well as several health and weapon upgrades, however minuscule they are. Yeah, those upgrades suck. But still, every little bit helps in this absurdly tough action platformer. What feels more helpful are the various rosary beads and knots you find along your journey. Yeah, so you can equip these beads and however many knots you've found, giving you small but marginally useful skills and customization. It does feel good to acquire them and plan your attack, but you're probably still gonna get your penitent butt handed to you anyway. It is imperative that you take the time learning the world and its inhabitants, every quirk and mannerism in order to survive. Only a fool relies on power-ups alone in this breakneck game. When you die, and you will leave behind your ghostly guilt and a chunk of your fervor, which is your magic meter used for prayer attacks, on the spot where it will remain until you go back to that treacherous spot to reclaim it. You'll absolutely need to have no guilt in order to survive these vicious boss battles, because those powerful prayer attacks are your best friend in this game. It's fitting that the biggest punishment the game gives you for dying is taking away chunks of this precious prayer gauge. Those do help a lot, but honestly, paying for attack upgrade techniques might help out even more. You accumulate Tears of Atonement, which is basically your currency gained like experience, and exchange them for various upgrades. Though you'll gather a ton, it'll never feel like it's enough. And it doesn't help that you loot less tears when you leave behind these guilt fragments. Now, you can get them back where you died, but remember, that's obviously a dangerous place, far from a save, so it's a treacherous gamble. This game is a harsh cycle of pain and punishment, but it's a real rush to play, even when most of the pickups are virtually useless decomposing body parts among other nondescript items. It makes the real goodies all the more exciting to find. And all pickups look exactly the same, so you never know what you're gonna find. And what am I supposed to do with somebody's hair, or these toes, or a gross egg? The game couldn't be bothered to give you so much as a hint of what half of its pickups are even for. Yeah, that kind of pisses me off. Some upgrades mandatory for progression are only obtained by performing an obscure series of cryptic fetch quests nobody in their right mind would have done without a guide. I get the game being difficult and all, but making it so cryptic and virtually incompletable without a walkthrough isn't hard. That's just unfair and unfun. Though it's incredibly frustrating, I still had a great time with this intense gameplay, even though the game straight up crashed on me twice. That's just because you hate yourself! Was that not already clear based on the games I play? This year's Santa brought me despair, and it's amazing! This game is indescribably dark and disturbing. This game's beautifully handcrafted sprite art and animations are gorgeous. It's so brutally gory and nasty with unending levels of disgusting creature and character designs that constantly explore new traumatizing, torturous horrors. The indescribably excellent execution of the old Spanish Catholicism combined with classic horror merges to form this amazingly unique aesthetic. I do really like how each area and enemies therein are color-coded to help the player remember where they are on the giant map, even though it's super cryptic when it comes to fast traveling unless you memorize those area names. But the highly crafted animations look and feel both satisfying and fair, albeit unforgivably tough. The visuals, though, give this game its super satisfying feel as you slash and blast your way around Custodia. The game is gruesome. Like, extremely gruesome. Especially those delicious fatalities you can perform on stunned enemies. Oh man, and those mind-blowing bosses. And all those little details like how you fill up your helmet with the blood of your enemies and wipe it away as it oozes out of your eyes. I legitimately have no idea what the heck even happened in this 12-hour nightmare. So you play as the last of a group of religious devout warriors called the Penitent One, journeying across the land of Custodia, ravaged by what's known as the Miracle, which manifests as cruel and twisted unending punishments for nearly all its inhabitants. I swear, I don't know if it's the distant eclectic dialogue or the cryptic lore keeping me from understanding this game, but it's like everyone knows and understands what's going on in the world but you. And of course, the Penitent One took an eternal vow of silence. You're given guidance by Dio Gracias, who instructs you on how to reach the Cradle of Affliction by slaying numerous bosses, acquiring various holy objects, and freeing the damned, punished souls you encounter on your way. I mean, he's just fine with this giant kid aging backwards with his feet nailed to a board and a massive old man face growing out of his nipple until it ultimately bursts away from him like a disgusting parasitic reverse birth. Like this is normal! There's also an alternate ending based on fulfilling extra requirements that will determine if you'll achieve salvation or become smothered in guilt by the will of the Miracle. Like, what are you even saying? This game is so messed up, it hurts. This one boss was a bloody blindfolded giant baby suspended by a human sticker bush. There's so many twistedly disturbing incarnations of torment in this game, it makes tracking the deep lore a complete afterthought. You're on a quest to dethrone the corrupted Escobar, distorted by the miracle in the highest tower of the Mother of Mothers, and absorb the exorbitant amount of guilt strewn across Custodia within your body and— Are we even playing the same game? The music is actually pretty nice. It's got this beautiful, creepy, haunting feel, especially the epic boss music. The sound effects are also fittingly gross. Enemies are so squishy and your blade sounds so nice, slashing their guts open. Oh, give it a break now. It's the music section of the Christmas special. We gotta sing! Christmas music makes me want to gut kittens like a fish. I can't think of anything I hate more than uninspired 12 Days of Christmas parodies. On the 12th day I blasphemed, the miracle sent me 12 broken bosses, 11 useless items, 10 mutilations, 9 aneurysms, 8 bile vessels, 7 holy relics, 6 stinging sorrows, 5 knotted strings. There were 6. 4 broken bones, 3 gross toes, 2 crash reports, and a dead guy inside an old tree. Just like how the mea culpa thorns injure the penitent one with each swing of his sword, this game hurts you every single time you play it. Overcoming this game's absurd challenges feels incredibly empowering due to its crazy difficulty and dark atmosphere. This game is equally disgusting as it is cryptic. You've gotta be a masochistic psychopath to make so much as a dent in this disturbing campaign. Or you could just watch my livestream series, shameless plug. The positive gamer in me was taken back by the, interesting performance of Blasphemous, blessing it with an above average 6 out of 10. The game itself can be loads of fun, but only after you get past all the obscure, guideless fetch quests, unending creative, gory mutilations, and unforgivingly traumatizing battles. Good luck, penitent ones. The critical gamer in me thoroughly enjoyed the insidiously vile Blasphemous, ascending it to a miraculous 8 out of 10. Once you get a hang of it, this game is notably beautiful with amazing artwork and music, well-crafted yet punishing level and enemy designs, and complete with a lush, mesmerizing world to explore. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides. Rate Blasphemous in the comments below. But if you're gonna let things like gore and difficulty keep you from enjoying a game, then you're just playing with yourself. Boy, do these review scores for Horizon Zero Dawn seem a little inflated. I mean, I played it all to completion, and I really enjoyed it, but geez, does it have a ton of problems they're overlooking. I mean, it's such an outstanding, complete mess of a breathtaking, incredible, atrocious pile of... I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was fun. It was by far the most overrated, horrendous display of uninspired, ambitionless, pitiable, overblown jank I've ever seen. Oh God, was that me? Don't be so critical or else everyone online will lash out at our opinion. Well, maybe you shouldn't be such a sugarcoating pansy who nobody takes seriously. What's happening to me? This was the game that did it. It split me in half and inspired this whole series due to how polarizingly opinionated it made me feel for and against it. It only makes sense that we finally review this laughably amateur attempt at entertainment on the 1-year anniversary of this show. Oh my God, I've been waiting a whole year to defend this impressive breakout franchise from you. Well, good luck staying afloat in your own septic tank of bullcrap! It's an amazingly ambitious waste of time, full of incredible rancid trash! This game has no idea what it wants to be. It's an action-adventure, third-person shooter, open world, decision-based story, hunter-looter, stealth, crafting, time trial, RPG, collect-a-thon? Oh, come on now, that just described a ton of your favorite games. But not all at once. This game's shoddy, mismatched gameplay only reminds you of other games that did each part better. You'll primarily be exploring the world and fighting off or controlling machines. They're honest to God, straight up just called machines. So let's just call them Zoids, because that's somehow less stupid. In all sorts of quests and challenges. The map leaves a lot to be desired for fans of games like Breath of the Wild. And God, those constant, uninspired, flavorless, grindy side quests only leave you longing for the likes of Skyrim for a break in the monotony. But the combat itself is awesome, as you're an adept archer with fully customizable armor, weapons, and abilities. With easily exploitable skills like the time slow jumps akin to the OP reflex mode from Metal Gear Solid 5, but on command. And just saying, if you want to win, just use this and the bomb slingshot and laugh. The campaign and side quests also direct you around various regions and human clans, embellishing on the story and padding out the gameplay. Shelving the story for later, everything feels so inconsequential when the majority of the game direction feels so uninspired. It's also got stealth so bad it's unbelievable! You're telling me these advanced killing machines can't see Aloy at all when she's got 30% of her body poking out of some grass? Man, even Uncharted had better stealth than this. But the crafting in real time can be really fun, as you'll be rushing through and managing your resources on the fly during combat. Doesn't anybody see a problem when the deadly killing machine Zoids that literally ended all modern life on Earth can all easily be defeated with freaking sticks and rocks? Aloy can also override them to fast travel or have them fight for her. And combining the broken stealth mechanic with the broken enemies to allies mechanic is the best answer to nearly every Zoid encounter. You'll need to defeat machines in order to accumulate shards for currency and tradable items for— That doesn't make any sense! Humanity is pressed to the brink of extinction, and instead of focusing on food or safety, they needlessly fight massive tyrannical robots for nothing more than shiny metal to use for money? The game's still fun! Ah! Yeah, I guess. Horizon looks fantastic, with cutting-edge graphics and design styles pushing the PS4 to the limit. Then why do all the characters stride this uncanny valley, both in looks and in weird motion capture animations, recorded by constipated baboons? Okay, so some facial animations are a little awkward and stale. The whole game was awkward and stale. But the machine designs are pretty sweet. Are you kidding me? They're all the exact same interchangeable cyborg token animal designs. But they all look and animate well. There's zero variety. Plus, basically everything gets taken down the exact same way. And there's only like 25 types total in the whole game. Well, those animated cutscenes are still pretty stellar. Then why are so many static gameplay of Aloy watching holograms? Fine, I just like the robo-giraffes. Hey, spoilers, in case that matters to you.
Hey, yo, we gonna talk about spoilers.
Trust me, don't skip this. This is the best part. In the distant post-apocalyptic future, Aloy is cast out from the Nora tribe and adopted by fellow outcast Rost, who trains her to survive as an archer and scavenger. This story is so goddamn stupid. Aloy discovers and keeps a focus, an advanced scanning tech device, which she finds by sheer dumb luck and keeps against Rost's will and needs in order to progress the plot when she's an adult. Yeah, it's gonna be one of those stories. As an adult, Aloy enters a competition called The Proving to become a member of the Nora tribe, during which an enemy clan attacks the Nora and kill Rost, who literally shows up out of nowhere and dies for nothing. Get used to this game disrespecting what little characterization it creates. There isn't so much as a whiff of a meaningful character arc in the entire game. And by the way, we're completely skipping over several drawn-out scenes with countless nobody characters, all adding up to absolutely nothing in the greater story, so you're welcome. So Aloy learns that she was found as an infant at the foot of an ancient mechanical doorway. The elders decided to cast Aloy out because reasons. Yeah, I mean, you'd think that they would have worshipped her like a messiah for appearing at what they consider to be a shrine to their divine overseer instead of straight up ostracizing her. But you see, this way, the main character has fake trials to overcome, giving her the faulty illusion of relatability and characterization. bad writing 101, my friends. So Aloy becomes the Seeker as a Nora Brave, don't even worry about what that means, it doesn't matter, and explores the world in various clans while investigating the ancient mechanical facilities' origins and ultimate purpose. So apparently after a millennia, people have become so moronic that they've formed warring Mad Max factions over childishly make-believe gods like the freaking sun. Their petty problems are constant and begrudgingly pointless. Now, you can say that people are stupid, and some are, but do you honestly want me to believe that nobody on Earth post-apocalypse thought to read a book? Nobody. Not one book! Just think about what that would have done to the story. No, don't think. Thinking is not allowed in Horizon. Okay, even I'll admit that absolutely nothing comes from these tribes that really adds up to anything in the story. But the facilities, oh, and don't even get me started on those abandoned mechanical facilities. You're telling me that these massive industrial underground compounds all have full power for lights, doors, holograms, pistons, bridges, and all other sorts of moving parts after a millennia? Are you mad? I don't even care what kind of fuel source they have, that's just lazy writing! Eventually, Aloy discovers all sorts of stuff with her focus, like how she's actually the genetic clone of the ancient Dr. Sobek from the Pharaoh Company, responsible for the mechanical uprising. And this takes her way too long to figure out. Pharaoh created and almost immediately lost control of their army of peacekeeping, military, self-sufficient, self-replicating, biomass-consuming robots over 1,000 years ago, leading to the destruction of all mankind as we know it. Do I even need to point out how moronic that sounds? She uncovers Dr. Sobek's plans called Project Zero Dawn, which was a top-secret automatic terraforming task force system created to restore life to the desolate Earth after all of the biomass-consuming robots had all died out. The project was led by a small hodgepodge of mismatched scientists who honestly didn't even get along together at all, to individually create dormant interconnected AI that would somehow make all of this happen in an extremely short window of time, preparing for disaster during the apocalypse, and all with absolutely no official support. Raise your hand if you're still buying this bullcrap. Nobody? No? Alright, just making sure. The AI all had different functions and names, like Gaia, which created the new humanity with saved DNA and taught them how to live. However, because plot, Gaia's protocol prevented it from communicating with humanity once they were out on their own. So when things went awry, it cloned Dr. Sobek in hopes that she, Aloy, would discover a focus, survive the vicious world overrun by deadly robots, stumble across and successfully operate the ancient facilities, discover Project Zero Dawn, and find Gaia so it could instruct her on destroying the now rogue AI Hades without violating protocol. I don't think it takes a supercomputer to calculate that that was an enormous assumption to make. So, Hades, one of the AI created, was specifically designed to wipe out all life on Earth if it determines that Project Zero Dawn fails. Because that sounds safe, and I'm gonna give you one guess which AI starts malfunctioning. Yep. So, Aloy, with practically no help from the ignorant human tribes, hunts down Hades, which has a physical form for some reason, even though it's an AI. It's even like some ghost-like thing that this dude actually captures in a lantern-like thing. And we could go on. The entire story was so pointless and contrived with so many plot holes it puts Avengers Endgame to shame. Countless hateable, shallow, pointless characters, meaningless exposition to forcefully advance the hollow plot, and continual, absurd, immersion-shattering leaps of logic. Yeah, right when Pharaoh realized that their obviously short-sighted plan of creating these multiplying death robots was getting out of control, they should have just nuked the facility. I mean, sure, some people would have died, but it's better than killing off all life on Earth and banking on a quickly scrapped together AI project, revitalizing it all in 1,000 years. The biggest shame is that the concept for this story is amazing. A post-apocalyptic future cyborg survival game where you discover the history of the destruction sounds awesome. But man, does this story take a huge steamy dump all over itself. So in the expansion, The Frozen Wilds, who cares? They get the idea. Well, it didn't stand out or anything, even though a lot of work was clearly put into it, but it was just fine, I guess. That one sentence just described the entire game perfectly. But it's fully orchestrated! This soundtrack was so forgettable, I dare you to hum literally anything from this game. Well, what about the voice cast? I cannot possibly overstate how stale and lifeless the laughably bad voicing is for this game. Oh, come on now! It sounds like everyone recorded their lines at 4 a.m. and on the first take, and without reading any of the context for their scenes. Stop! You only protest because it's true. Please? Praise the sun. Forget this guy. Horizon Zero Dawn is still one of the best games on the PS4. Have you not played most AAA games on PS4? Then you'll probably love Horizon, since you won't even know what you're missing. If you just want to have fun with a game, then there's a lot to gain from Horizon. Just don't get your hopes too inflated like the honestly overblown reviews. Just because you blend together a bunch of your favorite foods doesn't mean that the end result is even edible. And just because you mix a bunch of gameplay features and tropes you like, you can't expect the end result to even hold up at all. But Horizon is still a really great concoction, served by a really bad chef. The positive gamer in me had a good time with Horizon Zero Dawn, giving it a brave 7 out of 10. Though, admittedly, it's a thematic and structural mess, the smorgasbord of features and styles are enough to hold up this circus tent for a solid recommendation. The critical gamer in me detested the constant disappointment that was Horizon Zero Dawn, giving it the corrupted 3 out of 10 it justly deserves. Almost every aspect of this bundled travesty needs extensive work and polish, leaving the disjointed whole feeling begrudgingly inadequate in nearly every regard. When you try to succeed at too many things at once, you just might end up failing at everything. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Horizon Zero Dawn in the comments below. Now we can all have opinions, and by all means have fun with the game. But if you honestly believe that this game fully deserves to be awarded perfect scores in literally any regard, then you're just playing with yourself.
And we're back with everybody's favorite obscure video game reviewers in the sizzling new show, Cooking with Myself.
So the recipe called for a tablespoon of vinegar, but I'm just gonna have to make do. I mean, have you ever seen a spoon the size of a table? Cooking experience? Oh no, trust me, I can barely bake an omelet. Lucky for me, that guy's an idiot. You bake omelets, right?
Hamster and Bomb are going head to head in this frantic food fight cook-off.
Now I swear, if the judges don't like this lamb roast Dijon sandwich, then maybe they shouldn't have given me Pop-Tarts for bread. What the heck, science? You go and change the rules on me like that? So apparently, you don't pour water on a grease fire.
It's Cooking with Myself, only on Food Network, where washed-up celebrities go to die.
Forget that noise, let's just play Overcooked instead. Yeah, I mean, screw that place. I'm sure this'll be smoking. I don't know about that, but I better grab your controller, we're going in hot. Wait, I'm involved? Well, duh, it's a frantic co-op game. We need to work together. So, can you resist making the obligatory playing with myself joke? But it's so perfect! Get some noodles on the fryer and chop me up some meatballs and... Man, I can't cook. You're just playing with yourself! Okay, we've got an order for a Hawaiian burger coming up next, so I'll get the meat. Overcooked is a crazy co-op cooking game where you create and serve various meals in a fast-paced, ridiculous kitchen environment, where you'll navigate tough spaces to prepare ingredients and cooperate with your fellow chefs to better optimize your strategy and communication skills to succeed with a high score and clear each level. I'll just plate it later. Did you get that pineapple chopped yet? The kitchen layouts and orders get progressively more outrageous as you go, demanding seamless cooperation between you and your teammates if you have any hope of surviving the level. The more orders you fill and the less you fail, the higher score you will get in the end, ranking your score in 3 stars with an extra 4th star to earn with repeat playthroughs. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to the upcoming orders. In Overcooked 2, you'll gain the ability to throw food, which allows for some even more intense kitchen designs and frantic gameplay. There's also a ton of DLC levels expanding on the mechanics with new dishes to prepare and challenges to overcome, like battling zombie survival horde levels. You just deliver the last order before it's too late. In Overcooked All You Can Eat, But you'll get all of 2, all of its DLC, plus a fully recreated 1 to look and play like 2, minus the food throwing mechanic. It's honestly a ton of content for the price, so if you've got someone to play couch co-op games with who's in it for the high-level stress, frantic, score-chasing, micromanagement, and strategizing, then this game's for you. You are the worst teammate ever! The original Overcooked is cartoony and colorful, but looks like it could have released on the GameCube. But 2 looks outstanding. Plus, in the all-you-can-eat edition, the original game was completely reworked so that it looks just as great as 2. The original game had you selecting your preferred chef before each level, which ended up distracting players like me for way longer than it should have, cycling through all of them each time. But in 2, you choose your chef on the main menu and you stick with them throughout. This also helps your group better remember who is who for some better communication. For having so much to manage on screen like incoming orders, cooking, and shopping ingredients alongside utility placement and navigation, the UI needs to be great or else players will get easily frustrated. Fortunately, it's pretty good all around. Instead, you'll be setting the kitchen on fire because you got too swept up in other things to keep track of everything else going on all at once. The game's got a ton of chefs to choose from, ranging from tons of funny human characters to bizarre inclusions like a guy with a cardboard box for a head and a paraplegic raccoon. And then there's the dozens of adorable animal chefs added in 2 and in the DLC. The chefs are also cute and funny. You'll honestly have trouble deciding which one you'll be playing as each session, especially when you keep continually unlocking new options. But why is he in a wheelchair if he doesn't even have legs? In Overcooked, you travel back in time to better prepare your cooking skills to fight against the incoming attack of the Ever Peckish, a giant hungry alien meatball. And in 2, you're protecting the kingdom by the resurrected horde of the Unbred, summoned by the Necronomicon. Needless to say, it's amazing. I honestly don't know what more you were expecting from this. The music in Overcooked is surprisingly well orchestrated. Plus, with the fun, snappy, and squishy sound effects, the game feels just as vibrant and cartoonishly alive as the visuals. But the sound mixing can be a little off. This is one of those games where you'll want to turn down the volume several notches if you want to play it normally. Though the game sounds great, you may have some trouble really enjoying the soundtrack when you're frantically calling out orders and requests to your teammates before time expires, all making it harder to hear the beeping sounds the food makes when it's warning you that it's about to burn. I swear this was easier to hear in the first game. Or maybe I'm just yelling louder when I play it! Cooking is loud! I hope you had a big lunch, because this game will legitimately make you hungry. I have several friends who refuse to play this game anymore due to how high-strung it can get. But it's only stressful because your worst enemy in this game is your own composure. Overcooked could be a great time for some crazy couch co-op shenanigans, especially if you enjoy yelling at your friends and family. Until your wife demands that you get max stars on every single stage. Oh man, those space stages from 1, and those secret Kevin levels from 2.
Hey Alex, wanna play Overcooked?
Ah! Before we dish up scores here, let's be clear that we're kinda lumping together 3 game reviews at once here, so you can make the call of which version to try, the original, the sequel, or all you can eat. The positive gamer in me had a blast with Overcooked, serving up a spicy 9 out of 10. For what it is as a crazy party game, this game is a blast. It's colorful, creative, cute, and a funny co-op experience that's certain to stir up some chaos. The critical gamer in me had some minor gripes, but has to admit that Overcooked still serves up a steamy 7 out of 10. Though it can be quite stressful at times, the game is only as relentless as you make it, so it still gets my solid recommendation, especially the generous helpings of DLC. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Overcooked in the comments below. But if you find it increasingly difficult to gather together a group of friends who can deal with the high stresses of cooperative team micromanagement, then you should just watch Kim and I's Let's Play series of 2 shameless plug. Then you're just playing with yourself! Get it? Because you're playing a game? Alone? By yourself? It was funny! Hey, Ham. Whoa. Alright, so judging by the filters, it looks like you've already started without me. Oh, Bomb, you're here. Good. Can't I just get 1 week of peace? I mean, what the heck even is this? It looks like some high contrast, sandy saturation. I mean, it's not bad or anything.
Because nobody asked you.
This game was actually from the Brown era, but opted to actually look nice instead. I still can't tell what this is. Would it kill you to read the title of the video before clicking on it? Well, I'm sorry, this isn't exactly comfortable. Wild Watches Witcher. Something odd about my experience with this series is how I played them in reverse order, even reading the books after I played the games, but then I reviewed them in chronological order. Don't worry about playing them out of order like me, since it really doesn't matter. We also made sure to experience both story paths in The Witcher 2, which unlike the first game, are substantially different from one another. In true CD Projekt Red fashion, this game is crazy ambitious. And I gotta say, Witcher 2 feels tremendously better than the last one. Hold on, not the last one I played, but the last one. They get it! Now on with the
Grizzly old man killing monsters and sleeping around indiscriminately. Wait, are we just playing some teenage girl's horny fanfic?
Just like the last game, you'll be journeying across the expansive world full of its various racist and grungy civilizations as the famous monster slayer for hire, Geralt of Rivia. It's an action-adventure RPG where choices definitely matter, living in this dark fantasy world. But unlike last time, we're not forced into using awkward point-and-click controls for literally everything. Though the gamepad can feel a little stiff at times, especially with the jittery camera. But get this, the game doesn't even crash nearly as much. Honestly, I think I had more problems with 3 than I did with 2. At least the game's relatively stable this time. But that doesn't mean everything got ironed out completely. You've still got all of the weapons, potions, bombs, and skills from the last game, plus a bunch of new elements making combat and questing better all around. But some things just don't feel quite right. Oh, come on. Even comparing 2 to 1 feels grossly unfair with how much better it is. And I'm not ungrateful, but the fist fighting is a lame, forgiving series of quick-time generic punches, and the dice poker is straight up rigged. I'm not kidding, people, I've actually researched this, and many quests, including one story quest, are tied to your winning at dice poker, so that sucks. And whether you see this as a good thing or a bad thing, the romance cards are now completely gone, simply replaced with plain old sex scenes. And Geralt only has like 5 encounters total throughout both story paths combined. He's really keeping it in his pants this time. Baby steps, Witchy. Combat really feels a lot better in general as an action RPG than a stand still and click on enemy until the game finishes calculating damage and evasion and everything. You can actively dodge and throw out signs and bombs to keep your enemies at bay far more effectively than in the original. Except when merciless unprovoked QuickTime events during bosses keep appearing and killing you instantly. Those suck, and I do not miss them in the slightest in 3. Inventory and alchemy management are also much simpler to utilize. Though I can easily say that 3 will do all of this stuff even better, it is still miles ahead of 1 in terms of its gameplay. The difficulty curve isn't exactly stable though, with what feels like an intense beginning slowly getting easier as Geralt becomes more and more OP over time, with insanely tough bosses scattered randomly throughout. All except for the final boss, who is undeniably the easiest of the lot. Yeah, that's kinda messed up, but with all those save files you can make and with so much stuff to do, it never felt like a real hindrance. Too Long Didn't Listen, this one's actually fun to play. We kinda talked about this earlier. At least I can recognize characters this time. People actually look and act like actual people. Outside of Geralt weirdly staring straight over the heads of dwarves when he speaks with them as if they were still in his line of sight, take a look at Triss in this game compared to the first game. How about Zoltan in this game compared to this abomination? Oh man, aside from the characters, there's the incredible creature design, environments, and cleaned up UI. This game all around is just so much more appealing than 1. We keep comparing this game to Witcher 1 like it's making incredible strides, which it is, but the first game was just really, really jank. I'm gonna give you a spoiler skip timestamp just in case you want it. But honestly, if you're just interested in the gist and still want to go in unspoiled, I'd stick around anyway, since the real story experience is in all the little details of the various quests that I can't possibly cover anyway, as this game is just too huge! Geralt is appointed as King Foltest's advisor after the events of the last game, but after a dicey battle protecting the king during what Geralt calls a stupid war over Foltest's incestuous children, an assassin takes Foltest's life, leaving Geralt framed for the regicide, landing him in the Temerian dungeons. Geralt manages to eventually convince his interrogator, Vernon Roach, to release him and allow Geralt to hunt down the real Kingslayer. The trail leads him to Flotsam, a grungy town menaced by a massive monster squid called the Karen. Geralt then joins the sorceress Sheila de Tanserville in slaying the beast and discovers the Kingslayer, who convened with rebel Scoia'tael elves, was a witcher himself, Letho of Gullet, who during the pandemonium of an uprising in the city kidnaps Triss, forcing her to teleport them both to Edirn. Here, the story splits, where Geralt must decide whether to join the Scoia'tael in hunting down Letho for betraying them, or Vernon Roach's band of Temerian mercenaries for killing their king. Both groups despise each other, and both paths have radically different quests you'll be undertaking until they ultimately converge in the ending, and unlike in the last game, there is no option for neutrality. But in both paths, Geralt will ultimately find Triss by exorcising a valley of undead wraiths from eternal battle, walling off Edirn with an eternal ghastly war. Based on your allegiance, Geralt will support either side of this conflict, either attacking or joining forces with a free dwarven city-state or King Henselt's approaching army. There are so many choices to decide in this game, it makes recapping the story nearly impossible. Especially by this point, hence why I said that the spoiler tag in the beginning wasn't really a big deal. Ultimately, Geralt will do battle with a dragon, uncover and prevent Sheila's ulterior plans, and hunt down Letho in a final battle. After hearing him out, you can choose to spare him. This decision, aside from many others made in this game, can transfer over to your Witcher 3 save for maintaining flavorful accuracy of your playthrough, as well as potentially providing some extra quests. If it weren't already clear, this story is incredible because of its many impactful and weighted decisions it allows the player to make on the story. Take your time talking to people and discovering new conversations and Easter eggs. Make extra save files to experiment with all of the what happens if I try this scenarios, because that is how this story will impress you. Otherwise, that might honestly sound like meaningless fantasy jargon that didn't go anywhere, because out of context, that's sure what it sounded like to me. It's good. Yep. Oh, and the voice acting is a lot better. Everything was better all around, and that's why CD Projekt Red is where all cookies, magic, and sunshine rainbows are born. Definitely. I love how rubbing spaghetti on an orangutan's nipple causes dragon fruit muffins to erupt out of my fluffy marshmallow sprinkled tofu fountain. Absolutely. For how easy it is to get your hands on this game for a low price, it's a must-buy for anyone interested in this game. The Witcher for the second time. It's so weird to say, but playing these narrative-heavy games in reverse order is totally fine. In fact, I would highly recommend it. At the time, this game held the record for the longest sex scene in a video game, and I'm legitimately too afraid of the internet to validate if that is still the case. The positive gamer in me had a great time with The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings, landing a critical 8 out of 10. This fully realized D&D-like session is an incredible ride. This game is equally ambitious and well-crafted, and definitely gets my recommendation for Witcher 3 fans itching for more. The critical gamer in me doesn't need to meditate long when recognizing the tremendous step forward made with The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings, giving it a powerful 7 out of 10. The enormous amount of changes for the better made from the last game are staggering and much appreciated. Though the end product still has some room for improvement, it is still a great time nonetheless. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings in the comments below. But if you just think the old Witcher games are too outdated to play for today's standards, then you're just playing with yourself.
Super Mario Bros. Was released by Nintendo in 1985, and it was a real classic game back then.
Bomb, was that you? Huh?
Here comes my Goomba stompage. Crud nuggets.
No. It can't be.
I'm a leprechaun, I'm gonna steal your money. Giggle biscuits.
You know this guy?
Ow! Fiery nuts.
It's been 13 years. Ocarina Hero? That was you?
Gee, stop breathing fire at me, you fire-breathing Lindsay Lohan Ninja Turtle.
Oh my god, I can't do this. There's probably no better way to hear our first impressions of Super Mario Bros. Than to ask the Alex from 13 years ago on Ocarina Hero.
You just go to the end of the level, dodge some enemies, you might have to jump on some guys, kill them, get some points, and kill Bowser at the end of the level. But couldn't Bowser have been the good guy? Did you see that flag right there? It's got a peace symbol on it. That's awkward. Does this mean I'm supposed to be, I don't know, taking down Bowser's piece?
Not only was this the very first video game I ever made a video on, it is also the very first video game I ever played. You're such a loser! Also, the flag is supposed to be a skull. I know it's supposed to be a skull! Super Mario Bros. Is a side-scrolling platformer with the goal of reaching the flagpole at the end of each level by running, jumping, and even swimming your way past hazards and colorful enemies. There are 4 stages in each of the game's worlds, ranging from overworld, underground, underwater, and ending castle levels, with dozens of secrets and shortcuts scattered throughout the 32-level journey. Instead of sliding down the flagpole at the end of the castle levels, you will instead have to defeat or make it past Bowser by dropping him into the lava pit below. Each incarnation of Bowser progressively gets harder, with random jumping fireballs and flying hammers. Now explaining the rest of the game just feels weird, as this is the definitive video game for me. Collecting 100 coins gives you an extra life. You defeat enemies by stomping on them.
Look at how outspread my legs are. You always thought Mario stomps on enemies? No, he crushes them with his nuts.
And mushrooms make you bigger so you can take an extra hit.
Mario's got some serious allergy issues. I mean, if he gets close to one of these mushrooms that just happens to come out of these question mark blocks, he'll just swell up really huge.
You punch blocks from underneath to find goodies like fire flowers that let you throw fire.
The pollen must seriously screw up his system because, geez, look at his attack now. He'll take his hand, cover up one of his nostrils, and shoot out some red snot out of the side of his nose.
That is so stupid.
See, I told you that it's snot, not fire. How else would I be able to shoot it underwater?
Okay, point taken. And you travel down pipes to find shortcuts.
Let me in the pipe. All pipes have holes in the top. What am I jumping on?
How can it be the definitive video game when all of that stuff sounds completely insane?
Look at that Koopa down there in the corner. Is the guy who designed this game laughing to himself because he kills himself before you can kill him? He deserves a pup.
So we've got some bizarre enemy placement.
Boing, dodge. Whoa, that was so close. I would say I was hit.
And questionable hit detection.
Finally in World 7-2. But this is kind of a put down because it's the exact same level as the first underwater level. The one right before the bridge below the Cheep Cheeps with rabies. You know, it'd be even more of a put down if the level after this was that exact same level, only with a couple more enemies. It is. It is!
That is so lazy. This game is amazing. Shut up. It might be the nostalgia talking, but I still say this game looks great.
Look at this cloud. It's low enough to be a bush. Now look at the bushes in the bottom right. They're drawn the same as the clouds up at the top. The water's stationary too. Thought it was just the lava. No, water doesn't move either. Look at those trees. They look like cotton balls under stacked marshmallows. Hey, these things are actually mushrooms that I'm standing on. They aren't those unrealistically ugly trees in the other levels. Isn't this an interesting background? It's completely black. There's nothing back there. You notice it's nighttime, but the clouds are still extremely white? You see that Buzzy Beetle down there? In this game, since it's nighttime, you can't even see him. You notice he's throwing the hammers with his face?
Okay, so its visual design at the very least is great. Or just your favorite flavor of crazy.
Hey, wanna see Mario barf?
Classic. Mario is a... They know who Mario is! Well, but do you ever stop to think about how crazy this all is? An Italian plumber is rescuing a fungus princess from an evil turtle monster and his turtly army, all while pounding bricks, coins, mushrooms, and glowing flowers. Now that you mention it, and what kind of sucky hero storms the wrong castle 7 times before getting it right?
Our princess is in another castle. Well, which one? You gonna tell me? Or just mutter that every time I save you?
They had to be on some super mushrooms when they came up with this Mad Libs mess. Mario music is always good, but this soundtrack is legendary. The castle theme says hello, but all those classic sound effects, the overworld theme, everything other than the castle theme. Do you like video games? Because this is Mr. Video Game's video game. Do you hate turtles?
Eat snot, Koopas. Let's play Koopa bowling. Boom!
What even is this archaic contraption you recorded these videos on?
Well, the time has come. Do you want to see the last level, Super Mario Bros. Level 8-4. So do I, but I can't get there. Do it yourself.
Wait, seriously? Your first ever video game beats you at the very last level? You could never finish it even after all this time? Man, that must be constantly nagging at you. I guess that final Bowser is your white whale. It's just kind of depressing, to be honest. No more. This game has plagued me for decades, daunting over me, shutting me down time and time again. This needs to end. But you've tried so many times before. Do you really think you can do it? It's been 13 long years, but the time has finally come. I am Ocarina Hero, and this is Super Mario Bros. Level 8-4! The positive gamer in me adores the original Super Mario Bros., giving it an invincible 10 out of 10! For an arcade platformer, what more could you ask for? Great snappy controls, vibrant iconic sprite work, masterfully composed memorable music, and a fine-tuned quarter-swallowing difficulty curve with plenty of hidden secrets for gamers of all ages to enjoy. But is the original Super Mario Bros. Really one of the greatest games ever made? Yeah, kinda. Though the critical gamer in me struggles in separating the legacy from the actual NES classic, I can still confidently power it up to a super 8 out of 10. Though outstanding, this game's still a tad finicky, but that doesn't diminish this game's monumental groundwork or universal acclaim. But what do you think? And what was your first ever video game? Tell us all about it and how your positive and critical sides rate Super Mario Bros. In the comments below. You have no idea how good it feels to finally beat this game after all this time. I was 6 years old when I started this journey. Laugh all you want in my cringy old videos, but one thing's for certain. If you're just gonna sit back and let the past beat you, then you're just playing with yourself.
The prosecution is ready, Your Honor.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
The defendant in this case is Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright Trilogy, and the prosecution is prepared to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Hold it! I believe you must be mistaken, as the defendant in this case is actually called Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy.
But you see, the series itself is called Ace Attorney.
Phoenix Wright is just the subtitle. There's even an Ace Attorney where the protagonist isn't Phoenix Wright. That has no bearing on this case. We are reviewing Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy. Unrelated evidence is not admissible in court.
Even still, you're unable to prove your wild fantasy that the game is called Phoenix Wright and not Ace Attorney.
Take that! The defense would like to add this screenshot to the court record. What is this? This is the trilogy's save screen. Take a close look at the naming convention used for the save files. Phoenix Wright comes first, and Ace Attorney is the subtitle. In all 3 games! Now that we've cleared up the defendant's name, the defense would like to express their high recommendation to the credibility of the game in question, as I'm personally having a great start with it.
Objection! A great start, you say? An interesting first impression statement considering the evidence you yourself just submitted for your client. As you can clearly see, you're not just starting. For the first game in particular, you've already finished! But the other two games are still in their early stages. At the very most, I'm almost finished. And almost finished isn't finished! Have it your way, Bomb. The prosecution calls its first witness! Now, based on what was clearly stated from the gameplay's testimony, the prosecution finds the defendant to be nothing more than a simple visual novel, devoid of any meaningful gameplay interaction. Objection! The defense requests its right to cross-examine the witness and dispute this claim. And with what evidence? Take that! As you can see, the game is about finding contradictions in testimonies by listening closely and using the court records and evidence as your only weapons in uncovering the truth and winning your cases. The game is actually an interactive detective story, but the majority of your time is spent in court progressing dialogue just like any other visual novel. Your detective theory is just as baseless as— Hold it! If the game weren't investigative, then why are entire days labeled as investigation days? As you can see, you'll be collecting evidence, studying crime scenes, and interviewing witnesses for ammo in court to defend your client's innocence. If swabbing for fingerprints and spraying luminol fluid to find traces of blood isn't detective sleuthing, then a defense asks the court, what is? Then how do you explain needing to find the exact contradictions that the game wants you to find in order? This can be really frustrating as you figure out the game's twists earlier than anticipated. This linearity attests to it being nothing more than a simple visual novel. Knowing about twists or lies in court isn't enough. The real challenge in the gameplay lies in proving it! No further questions for the gameplay. The prosecution calls its next witness. Now, as we can all clearly see from these screenshots, the defendant is graphically identical to any other visual novel. Nothing but a series of static backgrounds with marginally animated character sprites. Objection! Marginally animated? These GIFs added to the court record beg to differ. This may be one of the most energetic visual novels you'll ever play. It has a comically absurd anime vibe, that's evident. But even still, it's nothing special. If by nothing special you mean it's one of the most meme-worthy formats there is, the defense presents this very video as evidence. How very meta of you. But it will not save you from a conviction. A series of pictures, animated or not, is still akin to a token visual novel. Your argument is invalid without any tangible evidence. Take that! Then what do you say to these screenshots clearly showing players searching through and interacting with detailed backgrounds to aid in their investigations? I say it's time we get to the heart of this case. The prosecution calls the story to the stand. Well, that was an amusing testimony, yet it only cements the defendant's guilt as a simple visual novel. The game is merely a series of mini-episodes of comedic short stories taking place in and out of court. Hold it! What you just said proves that this game isn't just an ordinary visual novel. And how's that? You're getting desperate, Bomb. You're the one slipping, Hamster. How can the accused be a simple visual novel when instead of having a main cohesive plot first and foremost like nearly all other visual novels, it is in fact a series of short stories? To back up this claim, let's examine the facts. You play as Phoenix Wright, a rookie defense attorney working his way case by case, protecting his innocent clients from unfair convictions, all the while proving the real culprit's involvement and guilt in each case. And what exactly does this prove? How can Phoenix Wright be just a visual novel when its own narrative is a loosely connected series of almost entirely unrelated episodic trials? Tell me, what kind of story isn't about the story? Well, the defense has neglected to mention the recurring cast of characters, like the harsh prosecutor Miles Edgeworth, the bumbling detective Gumshoe, and the spirit medium Maya Fey. Many sitcoms and animes have unrelated episodic entries, but they all have reoccurring characters like these. But as you said yourself, this is done in sitcoms and in anime, but not in most visual novels. Objection! This study in semantics is irrelevant. Objection! The defense asserts that this is indeed not irrelevant. In fact, it is crucial to this case. And how's that? Your attempts to prove that Phoenix Wright is just a simple visual novel have only resulted in your describing it as things that are clearly not visual novels. If anything, we've only proven that Phoenix Wright has created its own style of gameplay and storytelling, and has created its own genre.
You may be onto something, Bomb.
But the prosecution is prepared to call its final witness. The music is clearly outstanding. Let's recall that this is indeed a trilogy, and there are 3 different soundtracks for each game. Okay, so the original soundtrack is amazing, but the sequels Justice for All and Trials and Tribulations don't quite have the same energy as Ace Attorney.
The only thing you fought to prove is how disjointed these 3 games are. Is there nothing that unites these 3 soundtracks at all?
There's gotta be something I'm missing. It's something that's been here all along. Hold it! That's it! The sound effects! What truly makes Phoenix Wright its own thing is its silly, outrageous, and over-the-top classic sound effects. I mean, what even is Phoenix Wright without its character-defining hold it, take that's, and
Objection! This has gone on long enough. It's time we put an end to this.
Oh, you don't know the half of it, Hamster. I believe in my client, and I'm prepared to fight for them to the very end. My client is a high-quality, upstanding release collection, and regardless of its genre or delivery, its execution is what's surprisingly entertaining.
Do you honestly want to put dozens of hours away reading about court cases, regardless of how amusing they really are?
A good writer makes even the most bland and banal things enthralling and interesting. Even the life of a rookie defense attorney.
It truly is a substantial bang for your buck in terms of content, that's for sure. But are you prepared to lay down your final verdict?
It all comes down to this. But am I really prepared?
Don't give up, Bomb! Take it from me as I telepathically channel my deceased huge-breasted attorney sister Mia. When things seem the most dire, that's when we laugh.
Oh man, she wasn't being literal. But how can I be sure I can even do this? That's right! My attorney badge! I thought it was just useless and taking up space in my inventory, but it's the key in proving that I'm qualified to stand by my client to the very end!
Or that you've defeated Sabrina at Saffron City.
I believe in Phoenix Wright! As the positive gamer, the defense finds Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy to be a shockingly great time, laying down a verdict of a 9 out of 10. This highly interactive and surprisingly engrossing take on the visual novel format will keep you entertained through humor and intrigue throughout its entire trilogy.
As the critical gamer, the prosecution finds Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy guilty of being a visual novel with irrefutable evidence from Steam's tags, yet accepts the defense's claims as it is also so much more than that, delivering it a solid 7 out of 10. Though impressive, this episodic detective story is still just a visual novel, and therefore inherently lacking, though marginally, as a video game.
Hold it! The defense calls upon the jury to share their opinions of how their own defense and prosecution rate Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy and the validity of visual novels as video games in the court record below.
Don't be ridiculous. A visual novel is nothing more than a glorified book. How could one ever rank one so highly as a video game against such harsh competition?
If you're prepared to discount an entire genre of video games on such a weak premise, then you're just playing with yourself. Oh yeah! I can't wait to play some more Metal Gear Solid! This is a stealth mission, Snake. Wait, what? Was that my codec? Keep your eyes open. That's it! This is a stealth mission,
You're
Snake.
looping already?
I want to play Metal Gear Solid 5.
You can't play Metal Gear Solid 5. The internet says you have to play Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker first.
I don't want to play Peace Walker. I want to play Metal Gear Solid 5.
But you need Peace Walker to understand the story and characters of Metal Gear Solid 5.
But Metal Gear Solid 5 looks so cool. I just want to play Metal Gear Solid 5.
But once you skip over Peace Walker, you'll never be able to go back and understand the complete story of Metal Gear Solid 5. Fine, I'll play Peace Walker. It's not bad or anything, but I get it. Metal Gear Solid 5 is super tempting. At least we can make this video so others playing through the series can determine for themselves whether or not to play Peace Walker. There was a tremendous amount of changes to make Metal Gear work on the PSP while still moving forward from Metal Gear Solid 4. And for the record, I'm playing the PS3 port of the HD Legacy Collection. So, how's it play? Oh, come on! It is not that bad. If anything, this is like playing a portable beta for Metal Gear Solid 5, and there was a ton of innovation done here for 5 to even happen. But good lord, are there a lot of gameplay problems. And a lot are understandable with the substantial hardware change between 4 and Peace Walker. But the rest are just bad design choices. So this time, Snake isn't alone. Yes, he is! Okay, well, he's not in spirit. You'll be able to Fulton knocked out bad guys and recruit them for your own mercenary army. Those recruits will be able to assist Snake back at Mother Base by researching and developing new equipment and other tools for missions, as well as fight in off-camera combat missions, work in intel, medical, or even food supply. It's basically a Warlord's Animal Crossing. Instead of having a traditional linear story, you'll be selecting missions on the main menu, then selecting your deployment gear before loading the mission. Based on your performance in the missions, you'll be awarded with a ranked score, and by completing missions throughout the game, you'll unlock more, tougher missions, which in turn progresses the story. I both love and hate this radical change. It's a great idea to add more focus to the gameplay, especially after Metal Gear Solid 4, considering Peace Walker is a portable installment, but the way it's implemented is awful. Missions end abruptly, right at critical moments in the story, where Snake gets magically whisked away back to Mother Base so he can change up his gear, grab a ration, check on his crops, soldiers, whatever, all before, poof, suddenly arriving back at the same situation when he's good and ready for the next mission. Not only does this completely shatter the immersion in this story-heavy series, but it doesn't even make any canonical sense, as Snake somehow completely changes his own weapon loadout and outfit in a flash. He can even be replaced with a random MSF soldier to play the mission for him! Yeah, so weapon loadouts are changed up, and I'd say for the better. Instead of cramming an entire armory, including a 12-foot railgun up his slithering tuchus, Snake must plan ahead and bring only the weapons he needs for each mission. Though you can essentially radio in for more ammo and rations if need be. Agreed, it's much better in terms of flavor and strategic stealth gameplay. But when it comes to controls, the game just never really feels comfortable. Everything is indescribably awkward, like how Snake can't move while shuffling through items, but everything else still goes. Or like how you'll always seem to find yourself accidentally crawling, punching, or firing empty guns accidentally due to the quirky control schemes. Well, what about the crazy amount of cool missions there are in this game? There's tons of stealth segments and even plenty of crazy boss fights against tanks, helicopters, and even several Metal Gear-like AI-controlled mech units that you'll straight up have to grind against if you have literally any hope of reaching the hidden Chapter 5 and challenging the true final boss. You straight up have to replay those missions to destroy particular parts over and over again to increase the drop rates for the loot that you need in order to construct and complete your own AI mech creation called Metal Gear Zeke, among many other silly hidden requirements, but let's not go there yet. Yeah, that's not exactly very Metal Gear, especially for how frail the suspension of disbelief already was with the jarring mission system. Grinding bosses for a chance at obtaining items critical to advancing the story was definitely not a good idea, even though it was inspired from Monster Hunter and resulted in an amazing series of collab missions where Snake got to straight up battle Rathalos, Tigrex, and the new Gear Rex inspired by the Monster Hunter team. Those fights, among many others, just felt unfair. And maybe it's an amalgamation of a bunch of little things all colliding together, but this game just doesn't feel very fair in its hit detection, control, and responsiveness. I will say that some grandfathered elements like the psych gauge were totally pointless. I honestly didn't even know that it was doing anything until the final boss, or rather the first final boss. Though Peace Walker laid the groundwork for 5, we can't discount all that it managed to establish for Metal Gear on the PSP. Even still, I will never revisit this game. This game is ugly. Come on now, it's a PSP game. Okay, I should clarify. Yes, the game is low poly and clunky looking with gross smudgy poop colors. I expected that for the PSP, even after the retouches for the PS3 edition. but even the UI itself is confusing and occasionally hard to navigate. Honestly, I didn't even know that the game even had codec call mission briefings buried in the menus until the very end of the game. But the most obvious graphical offender is the sorry excuse for the cutscenes. They use this jarring animated motion comic style akin to the graphic novels. Now hold on, the PSP couldn't handle much more than that graphically. It was a stylish solution to a hardware problem. It's still uncomfortably unfitting when actual low poly 3D animation cutscenes get slapped next to painterly motion graphics. No matter how good the art is, this idea was just doomed from the start. And the art itself is pretty low-res and blurry. Some of the dialogue balloons don't even match up with what the characters are even saying. Okay, I know that this looks bad, but I swear the game only gets better from here. You just need to bear with me a little longer. Totally redeemable. It just looks and plays like butt. After the conclusion of Metal Gear Solid 3, Big Boss, joined by Kaz, forms a rogue military group without a country called MSF, and gets caught up in an internal struggle between an invasive, mysterious military group and the defenseless Costa Rican people banned from forming their own military. Then, about 100 hours later, things actually start to matter. Come on now, that's not true. Oh yeah? Then tell me what actual influence on the plot did anything have before the final boss encounters? Stuff to do? And how did characters like Amanda, Chico, or Cecile influence the story in any way? They, need to keep getting rescued? Yeah, that's about the extent of it. Characters are only there to add a tiny semblance of narrative splicing between the stealth and action missions, as well as underwhelmingly shallow codec call dialogue compared to the past games. Well, what does matter is that Snake, commanding MSF, decides to defend Costa Rica by request of the young peace-loving Paz and Galvez, a mysterious man offering the group a means to establish their own mother base and grow MSF in exchange for protection through deterrence from the invasive rogue CIA forces and information on the boss via an audio cassette tape playing her voice, implying that she may still somehow be alive. Since the story is the main reason to play Peace Walker, some of you might just want to know the gist and bypass it to play Metal Gear Solid 5. So here's your spoiler warning and skip time. Or you can just watch my Let's Play series, shameless plug. By accepting this mission, MSF risks making enemies with America and aims to establish their neutral army of soldiers without borders. After dozens of missions protecting local mercenary groups and fending off invading forces, Snake meets Huey Emmerich, Hal's father, tasked with developing a new series of unmanned AI-controlled mechs by former CIA director Hot Coldman. Coldman aimed to reclaim his place as the CIA director by proving the usefulness of his new Peace Walker, the greatest of his unmanned AI creations, a walking, nuclear-equipped all-terrain battle vehicle that will instantly retaliate with a nuclear strike without fail upon detecting an incoming nuclear bombardment. With the idea of assured mutual destruction, the mech was designed to guarantee peace. But Coldman starts getting antsy and demands that Huey fires a nuke to prove to the world that the retaliatory assuredness of Peace Walker does work. Huey refuses and instead joins MSF in hunting down and destroying all of the AI units. This leads Snake to Dr. Strangelove, developing the Mammal Pod, an AI built on controlling Peace Walker's rational thinking, coded to reflect the decisions and even voice of the boss. So yeah, of course the boss wasn't alive. Galvez's audio recording was actually just picking up the Mammal Pod, so there's that. Also, Dr. Strangelove tortures Snake as per tradition. Snake is also very confused about, or straight up doesn't even know, the boss's intentions from Metal Gear Solid 3, even though we know he heard the audio cassette left by Eva at the end. This doesn't really make a whole lot of continuity sense, but at least it helps drive the ongoing dynamic between Snake and the ghost of his mentor in the machine. Though we mentioned this before, let's keep in mind that this story keeps getting awkwardly segmented through mission breaks, teleporting Snake back to base right when a bunch of snipers show up, or a tank, or a helicopter, or AI unit rolls in, or even right after getting captured as a POW, returned right back to where he was with entirely different gear. Eventually, Snake is forced to destroy the Peace Walker as it attempts to retaliate from a fake missile bombardment, firing its own real nuclear warheads in response. However, even after Snake's victory, the crumbling machine still somehow sends off faulty missile data to the CIA, who nearly retaliate themselves before the boss's memory shines through the decrepit machine as she once again gives her life to save everyone, drowning the Peace Walker in the sea, stopping the faulty transmission, and ending the nuclear standoff for good. Snake interprets this as a betrayal from the boss, as she's shown that she'd rather lay down her arms than fight, and considering himself to be a weapon created by her, this action causes Snake to discard her bandana and finally accept his title as Big Boss. So, you'd think that this would be the ending and all, especially considering how you got end credits, but nope. Okay, so up to this point, beating a story mission would unlock the next one, but from here on, you'll need to complete random extra missions until the game feels like giving you the next story mission, and those missions aren't exactly exciting. Turns out Galvez was actually a KGB spy named Zadornov, and repeatedly tries escaping Mother Base from here on out. Every time you'll have to hunt him down and haul his sorry Soviet butt back to the brig, all just so you can farm a couple other random missions before he'll escape it. Do it all over again. This gets old fast, and by the 7th freaking time, Zadornov finds a way to remove his transmitter, meaning you don't have a new mission to hunt him down with. Meaning you'll need to search across the entire game in well over 100 missions in order to find him hiding somewhere. Luckily, if you go in order, you'll find him in an early training mission at Mother Base's shooting range. By the way, absolutely none of this triggers at all if you didn't complete your totally optional Metal Gear Zeke prototype, which, let me remind you, requires you to repeatedly grind against the past AI pod bosses, damaging certain parts over and over again in order to increase the chances of their dropping the pieces that you need to build Zeke. This grind, I assure you, is also gonna get old fast. After finding Zadornov for the final time, Snake discovers that his escapes were orchestrated by Paz as distractions in order to secretly modify and eventually hijack Metal Gear Zeke, where Snake must battle his own creation and stop Paz from launching Zeke's nuke obtained from the fallen Peace Walker at the United States to guarantee the retaliatory destruction of MSF and its reputation permanently if they don't agree to join her employer, Cypher. See, Paz was actually an agent for Cypher, which is actually Major Zero from Metal Gear Solid 3. He and Snake both took opposite measures in carrying on the boss's will, causing them to become enemies. Kaz admits to knowing about Cypher and Paz's involvement in MSF all along, but went along with it in order to assure that MSF could reach its full potential. Anyway, so Snake battles Zeke alone, even though they're literally fighting at his home base, where he has dozens, if not hundreds, of armed men willing and able to help him. Now that I think about it, pretty much every boss encounter should have been a military group invasion instead of a solo sneaking mission, but Metal Gear, I guess. So Snake reluctantly destroys Metal Gear Zeke, letting it and Paz fall crashing into the ocean in one of the game's only CG cutscenes. And that's literally all you need to know for Metal Gear Solid 5. Now, don't you feel better knowing you've beaten Peace Walker and gotten the full story? As a completionist, yes. As a gamer, not really. This was honestly the most uneventful and bland Metal Gear game I've ever played by a mile. Hey, at least you got to make a custom pink Snake-mobile. Though a lot of this game's music is just par for the course, the main theme, Heaven's Divide, is so good, it's admittedly my favorite song in the entire series.
How can we ever protect and fight with our tiny souls?
Oh yeah, and that random anime Poppy song that plays during the true final boss fight was just weird and disjointed. Yeah, that was strange. I thought you were gonna complain about how Heaven's Divide first gets used in generic Mukin helicopter battle number 76 and not anything super important. Maybe the story was just so hollow to begin with that there wasn't a better place to put it in the entire game, devoid of any villainous foxhound unit or memorable characters at all, but instead just generic tanks and mechs. But thanks for pointing that flaw out for me. Whatever, I love this song. If you've played Metal Gear all the way up through Metal Gear Solid 4, you can't move on without checking out this impressive PSP installment. Yes, you can. No, but what about all the story and everything they're gonna miss out on if they don't play this one first? There's all the context and characters that connect the dots from Metal Gear Solid 3
I'm not stopping
that
you.
won't make any sense otherwise. The positive gamer in me really enjoyed Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, ranking it with a solid 6 out of 10. Though admittedly, this is easily the weakest installment in terms of story and gameplay for Metal Gear, but its innovations and ambitious design implementations make it worth your while grinding away at the game's massive mission assortment. The critical gamer in me was definitely let down by Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, giving it a slithering 4 out of 10. As a game, and especially one from this epic saga, my expectations were set high going in, and pretty much no aspect of this title could fill the shoes of its predecessors. Is that unfair to ask from a portable alteration of the Metal Gear format? I don't know, but all I can do is fairly rate it as it stands today, a mediocre experience. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker in the comments below. Yeah, it helps for some extra context, but if you honestly believe that you absolutely have to play Peace Walker before touching Metal Gear Solid 5, then you're just playing with yourself.